Hello, I'm back again. Another beautiful day, and we are following Mr. Robert Joseph Pershing Foster. Let's get right into it. I don't want to waste your time. One day, he showed up at the modest home of a colored couple in their 50s somewhere in South Central. The wife met him at the door and called her husband to the front room. "John, the doctor's here," the wife said before disappearing into the kitchen. Robert checked off the answers the husband gave about pre-existing conditions, fractures, and surgeries. He gave the man a cup to collect the urine in and later began the physical. He put a blood pressure cuff on the man's arm and began listening for the systolic pressure. Just then, the wife walked in and turned the television on so loud that Robert couldn't hear the beat. "Could you ask your wife to please cut the television off?" Robert asked. "I can't do my examination." The woman complied, and soon Robert finished with the husband. "Now," Robert said, "I also have a form to examine your wife." "All right," the husband said. "Baby, come on. The doctor's ready to do your physical." The wife came out. She was a large woman in a house dress and apron. She had her hands on her hips, and Robert was unprepared for what she had to say. "I told you I wasn't going to let no nigger doctor examine me." Robert was beside himself. There were many things one could say about the South, but he had never experienced rejection by patients of his own kind and hadn't anticipated such a thing in this new place. Colored doctors in the South were revered because there were so few of them and because they were the only ones who could be counted on to go into the country to tend to colored people. They were greeted like Union soldiers come to free the slaves. Because of the great chasm between blacks and whites, colored doctors also had a virtual monopoly on colored patients. He realized he had entered a more complicated universe than he had imagined. Colored people in California didn't have to go to colored doctors if they didn't want to. They had choices colored people in the South couldn't dream of. To make matters worse for a colored doctor new in town, the very system that instilled privilege and superiority in Southern whites also instilled a sense of inferiority in their colored workers. And when the latter got the chance to get all that had been denied them, some sought out whatever they were convinced was superior, and thus white. In that one exchange, Robert experienced a byproduct of integration that would affect nearly every black business and institution when the doors of segregation flung open, rejection by a black customer base for the wide open new world. It didn't take Robert long to realize that he would have to work doubly hard to win over his own people and get any patients at all. But at the moment, he was so hurt and rattled by the woman's rejection that he couldn't think straight. "It frightened me so," Robert said years later. "I threw all my things in my bag and dashed out of the house to leave." "I'm sorry, doctor," the husband was saying. That's all right, Robert said, the door closing behind him. Robert got into his car and only then realized that in his haste, he had forgotten something. "Oh my gosh, I've undergone this embarrassment," he thought to himself, "and I don't have the urine specimen. I'll only get $7.50. He needed every nickel, so he had no choice. "I cut the motor off," he said, swallowed my pride, and went back and got the urine specimen. The woman never let him examine her, and it was just as well. The experience had begun to shape his vision of this new world. To think that I had come all the way from the deep south, he would say many years later, out here to this land of milk and honey and opportunity and intelligence, to find that one of my own color was disrespecting me. Whew. Robert. Where do I begin, folks? Where do I begin? So Robert is a doctor, a practicing doctor, and he takes this call with this colored family, this colored couple. And the wife, well, I wanted to focus here just to show that how the wife was already disrespecting the doctor by turning on the television extremely loud. That was already a sign of how she did not care for colored doctors whatsoever. But then it goes on to saying that she said, I wasn't going to let no nigger doctor examine me. I mean, I would be shocked in that moment if I was Robert to hear a sister, a fellow, a fellow black person say that to you and is serious and mean it. I mean, that could really be jarring. And I just could not imagine being Robert in that moment and experiencing what he was experiencing, especially coming from the South where, it says colored people, they really depended on the colored doctors because white doctors was not going to travel out to the country to examine them and to help them. Amazing stuff. And just to say here how colored people in California didn't have to go to colored doctors if they didn't want to. They had choices. And again, the system, this superiority system, infected, California-born blacks here who, believe that white is better. White ice is colder. And that's something that for myself, I don't think I grew up with that mentality, but I'm pretty sure it was subliminal and it was probably beneath the surface. But now that I'm aware of it, I don't think I was that deeply brainwashed or whitewashed to believe that whatever, was of the highest standard was white only, But yeah, this is sickening, man. Sickening stuff. And I want to focus too on the whole pride thing, how he was so distraught that he, forgot his money and he had to swallow his pride and go back in and get the urine specimen. This is something that I had trouble with growing up, about swallow my pride and just, having to do what you have to do to keep going in this world and to get what you want. Like sometimes you have to swallow your pride and take it on the chin and, keep going and do what you got to do. So that was a quote that stood out to me. And lastly, the one where he says, one of my own color was disrespecting me. Yeah, unfortunately, all kinfolk, it goes, all skin folk is not kinfolk. And that's just the unfortunate truth. You cannot expect something from anybody just because they look like you or they talk like you or they speak the same language. That doesn't mean anything. People will not respect you because you guys came from the same place or talk the same, and it's just the reality of it. And so you have to face that reality and understand that most people are out here just for themselves and no one else, and that's just the reality of it. But just wanted to share that for today. Really, really good one. Man, this one is powerful stuff. But yes, this book, almost getting through with it. Keep sharing, and right now I'm gonna share what I'm watching. Candy Cane Lane with the beautiful Tracee Ellis Ross and the legend, the living legend, Eddie Murphy. Now I want to kind of focus on Eddie. The movie itself, it's, it isn't bad. It's okay. It's a fun little family holiday movie. Eddie Murphy, he's a father and he gets laid off from his job and he has to figure out a way to make money, and he finds out they're doing a contest for the best house on the street. It's pretty, it's okay. But I want to focus on Eddie Murphy. This guy here is a living legend. I love Eddie Murphy. He's played in so many classic movies: Trading Places, Beverly Hills Cop, The Golden Child. Oh, it's just so many great movies. What's the other one? Harlem Nights. I mean, just go on and on and on. But it sucks that I know he's a father now and he has children, and he kind of changed up his approach to his comedy. He's not like the old school Eddie from the 80s and 90s. He's very, very censored and very fatherly, which is okay. But boy, I miss the old Eddie Murphy, man. But yeah, this guy's a living legend. I love him, and I just wanted to put that out there. His brother, rest in peace. I believe his name was Charlie Murphy. Funny as hell too, man. I miss him a lot. But yes, living legend, Mr. Eddie Murphy. This movie, Candy Cane Lane, is on Amazon Prime. It's okay. It's a fun little movie. You can watch with your family. And I just enjoy watching Eddie Murphy still acting and still, doing what he does best, So check it out if you have the time, if you want to. It's a really cool little holiday movie for the holidays. And yeah, and I really love Tracee Ellis Ross. She's beautiful. So yeah, check it out. It's called Candy Cane Lane. I'll check in with you guys tomorrow. Take care.